Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. You know, this whole retcon, Brooklyn and Dante having a child is, I said this maybe a couple of days ago, a couple of weeks ago, how problematic it is. Because now it's making me look at the characters a lot different. Like, granted, Brooklyn was not exactly my favorite character, and Lois is Lois. I can take her or leave her. She was kind of in between for me. But now I look at them and I see two trifling ass women. Okay? When Lois went to see Martin, I'm like, well, why is she going to go see Martin for? Long story short, she confirms that Gio is is Brooklyn's son and Dante's son. When she talks about when she talks about Olivia being her friend, it's like a mockery at this point. You've been lying to her for years, and you have the audacity to sit there and call her your friend. So like now I'm sitting there looking at her like you are just terrible. And of course, she tells Marty that the child was adopted or whatever, and Martin's like what about the father? Oh, so you did it without the father's consent? Because apparently father's rights just they don't really matter anymore. Um, And pretty much she wants to make sure that no one is going to be able to find out that Gio is Brooklyn and Dante's son, because it can mess up a bunch of lives, a bunch of lives and everything like that. There's a point where Tracy comes in. Tracy coming in there to sit there and whine to Martin was just, I guess, for comedy relief. Because otherwise it just didn't really do anything. Now Tracy came to the house and was sitting there being like, "Hey, listen, did you lay down the law with Willow?" And Brooklyn was like, "Yeah, no, not really." And she felt like she made it worse. She did her whole tough love thing, and she felt like it backfired. And to an extent, I did understand where Brooklyn was coming from. Brooklyn wasn't like, "Hey, listen, what you're doing is wrong and foul." She was just like, "Hey, listen, you want to do that? Just go somewhere else and do it." But, she felt like she made matters worse, and, they wound up leaving. And, of course, Tracy was like, "Yeah, I can totally sit there and see that." Um, she sent Dante and Chase on this whole expedition about, making sure that, no one can get in and out and find out where the weak points are, as far as, because Drew got in, and now she's like, "I want to make sure that stuff like that doesn't happen anymore." Which is kind of stupid because Drew ain't coming back there anytime soon. Like, he was only over there to go sit there and see Willow. And since the family pretty much is like F him, well, he has no problem to just F them too. Um, I really thought that Chase was going to not tell Dante um, who the suspect was. But, Dante played the friend card and he told him that it was Cyrus. And of course, Rocco overheard. Now, while Alexis, Molly, and Christina pretty much kind of, break the news to um, to Danny that, he was murdered, that his mom was murdered. They do sit there and say they're going to tell Jason when he gets back about Sam's murder. Why they didn't sit there and tell him before, I don't know. But, like, they did sit there and say they were going to tell him once he got back. Brad is talking to Stella, And, Brad is not there talking about how he looks and stuff like that. He's been working out and you want to sit there and see, if there's a difference or anything like that. And of course, Lucas comes over there and it's like, yeah, you do look good and stuff. And they're talking and everything. And Porsha and Curtis are talking about Kai and him visiting Kai to sit there and just, give him some words of advice and encouragement and stuff. And I think this is before or after. I think this might have been after. Brad comes up. Now, Brad has been just doing things that just seem so extra and unnecessary. As far as asking Porsha for things that, you know, he really doesn't need to ask, like, as far as, like, blackmail her for stupidness. It's not like he's not there doing this to, like, try to get money or something else of value. First is, oh, could I go on a business trip? And now it's, oh, could I sit there and leave a little bit early because my trainer had to sit there and reschedule? And, Portia's like, this is something that, last minute or whatever, but she does do it. And she does sit and explain later on, like, you're going to have to be careful about all these favors you're asking me. If you want to sit there and kind of keep this in the down low, you're going to have to use a little more discretion. And I'm just like, this is just stupid. Like, you did all this to blackmail her, and you're just asking for these stupid little favors. Like, it just seems so unnecessary. Now, Curtis sees that. And Curtis is like, I'm going to sit there and have a talk with him. And I don't get the point of this conversation. And this is where it makes me think that they retcon this story. See, a couple weeks back, Porsha done told Curtis that Brad has some information over her head. He's not going to sit there and say anything, but he has it. So Curtis knew about the information about the blackmail that Brad had on her. But when he walks up to Brad, I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, maybe he's going to sit there and set him straight or whatever and be like, hey, listen, I know that you have some stuff with my wife, but, we're not going to sit there and keep playing this game. And the only thing he does is when he talks to Brad, it is, so, are you still working with Selena? And, he says no, which is a lie, because, he did facilitate a bet between Cody and Selena. But pretty much he's like, as long as you keep your nose clean or whatever, like, we're not going to have a problem. I just don't want you to have a problem with my wife as far as your ties to Selena Wu. And when he tells Stella, like, you're being really nice to him, taking her on your wing, Stella's like, he's a changed man. And, this is after Curtis brings up, well, what about, aren't you concerned with his ties to Selena Wu? Here's the thing, Curtis. It's kind of hypocritical if you sit there and say, right? Because way back when you had a drug problem, do you want people to sit there and constantly be bringing that up as far as, oh, should I rock with you? Should I trust you? Should you be allowed in this company? Should we work with you and stuff like that? So, yeah, Selena is, their family. It's unfortunate. You can't sit there and choose that. But, like, and as much as I don't like Brad, I'm kind of like, bro, you don't need to sit there and bring that up. Like, just because Selena's bad doesn't mean that he's necessarily bad. And yeah, he's done some stuff in the past, but he worked on his stuff and he changed. Just like you worked on yourself and you changed. So, like, it's just kind of extra. But again, it makes me think that that's a retcon at that point. Like, now he doesn't know about Brad blackmailing Porsha. Little things like that is kind of interesting. It's like, and we talked about this before, when they do stuff like that, it can make soap fans feel like the show isn't that they're trying to treat people like they're dumb, like we don't remember our history, you know. Now during the conversation with Nina and Willow did admit that Brooklyn was kind of right. She was right. Like, I shouldn't have did that on the property, the house that me and Michael shared. Disrespecting Monica, disrespecting the family by bringing Drew over when he shouldn't have been there. But she did feel suffocated, and she's like, she's a grown ass woman. So she's like, listen, I did what's best, but I could have used a little more tact. And of course, at this point, Drew comes over. Now, at first, I'm like, bro, what the hell are you doing? But then you realize that Willow just sit there and text him. So Willow texts him. They're talking, and at one point, Nina was sitting there whining to Drew about you're a bad man, blah 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 blah, whatever. Willow does sit there and say like, yeah, we did f up us doing that on the property. She still wants to be with him, but she did realize like, yeah, the fan was right about that. Even Drew was like, yeah, you're right about that. That we shouldn't have did that. Nina gets upset and she calls Carly for backup. As far as we both have a common enemy. Um, so I guess they'll put their differences aside to take down the big bad Drew, the devil, blah 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 blah, whatever. Um, Josh, well, here's the thing. Josh and Smith, they're talking to Jack. And, Jack wants to sit there and see how far she is in the investigation because, Jack can't really do anything. Like, he knows that Cyrus killed Dex. He actually has footage of that. But, he can't sit there and use government resources to, interfere with a police investigation. So he's sitting there giving Josh some breadcrumbs. And he asks, like, how far are you into it as far as investigation? And, that little trip that, Jocelyn made that did absolutely nothing as far as trying to find evidence, but Jack is encouraging her, hey, listen, don't give up. And he's trying to give her little clues like, listen, just because the evidence is not there doesn't mean it may not be at another place where Cyrus might have actually been. Like, does he have other houses, other locations and stuff like that? They should try to point her in that direction. And so when Jocelyn is not there talking to Lucas, you know, she's not there looking him up on the web and talks about Austin. So she asks Jack to sit there and look up, any information as far as Austin, since Austin did testify against Cyrus in court. Dude's dead. It's not much of a stretch as far as maybe Cyrus did kill um, Austin. Now it's funny because in my live stream we talk about that every now and then, like. So, remember that guy, Austin? He was dead. And it's like the world just kind of forgot about him. Didn't even bother to sit there and see who his murderer is. Even though we all suspect that it's Cyrus, there was never any actual proof. But now, since Jocelyn Smith is looking into that, at the very least we could sit there and get proof that Cyrus did sit there and off um, Austin and, probably get him for that. Since at this point, Liz and Lucky is like, listen, if we gotta bring that mofo to sit there and put him behind bars, whatever. There really wasn't much as far as the conversation between Jack and Carly. Carly just wants to sit there and make sure Jack didn't say anything about, the time in Germany. And, Carly's not saving Jack's life since, Jocelyn has enough to worry about. And of course, Lucas is not there. Lucas is not there talking to Jocelyn as far as, what do you think about that situation with your mom and Jack? And Jocelyn's like, listen, as long as it's not Sunny, I'm cool with it. Now, Lucas has his concerns as far as, like, they may not be exactly that far apart, but I'm also just like, maybe you should kind of just chill out a little bit. I mean, you don't like when Carly sits there and busting your conversation between you and Brad when y'all two are just having a simple conversation like today. So you might want to just kind of ease up a little bit on the whole, getting in Carly's business or who she's there dating. Now, I feel like that's pretty much about it for the most part. I mean, hell, there was a lot, so I'm pretty sure I missed like a good 30%, 20%, give or take. But that is the general gist of the episode. Now, if I miss anything, write in the comment section. I will be on tonight for an hour because I do have to wake up early in the morning, so I'll be streaming from 8 to 9. And of course, talking about all the shows, including the video that I did today. With if you didn't check that out, I did a video Cameron Madison being attacked, and he was sitting there talking about it on the Jennifer Hudson show. A couple of the cast members was there, but I wanted to bring up that clip in particular. So if you didn't watch it, definitely check it out, and we'll talk about that as well, and all three of the other shows.